Hello and welcome to Applicata Biblia. My name is Mark. Thanks so much for stopping by. I just wanted to drop everybody a quick note. I'm going to be starting a new class and we're going to be studying the book of John. Now this is going to be geared toward new Christians or I'd say anybody who doesn't quite understand the full structure of how the Bible is put together and the history of Israel and all of that, because that creates the context when we see Jesus show up. We have to realize that when you're reading the Gospels, you're basically reading the middle of the book. That's where you're starting. And you don't have to know everything before that, but it brings more depth to your study if you do that. Okay, so it's really important that we understand not only the historical, but the cultural background of what Jesus is dealing with the people he's bringing this new message to. It's a great message, but it is also a radical message for the day. And we have to put context into those things. And so that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to cover one chapter a week, and essentially what I'm asking you to do is to do that one chapter a week, and I will cover it in 2 or 3 videos every week, and I'm going to just tell you the points that I see. And what I want you to be able to do, especially if you're new at studying the Bible, is to stay curious, ask questions. What God is trying to do is give us the who, what, where, when, and why of everything, of his relationship with us and how it unfolds up to the point of Jesus coming. And we're going to get into a lot of the little nuances and details like that I see, and I hope that will help you in your study so you can better understand what's happening for that day. Now I suggest, and you don't have to do this, if you just want to listen every week, or if you have a question and you write it down and you want to ask me a question, that's fine. But I would suggest that you get like a spiral bound notebook or something, or a thick writing pad or something like that, and leave the first 3 pages of it blank. And then when you read your chapter, just pick out 2 or 3 main points. So you read that chapter first. Just read through it and just look at what you think are the important points. 2 or 3 of them. Don't get into the weeds yet. Just read it. Write down those 2 or 3 things for that chapter. Just write down 1, like chapter 1, right? 1 dash. John basically says that Jesus is God. He was there from the beginning. And then John the Baptist comes on the scene. And Jesus starts picking his disciples. That's it. It's very simple. And then what you do is you just do that as you do each week. You add the next chapter like that. And so at the front of your study, you will have a good survey of the book, and you can see the flow of how it flows. So after you do that first read through, then you're going to go through again, and I suggest you start looking for patterns, repeated words, repeated phrases. If you see something that you have a question about, write it down. Why is he saying this? Because you're going to see Jesus say one thing, like, I didn't come to judge the world, I came to save it. And then later he says, I came to judge the world. And so you kind of have to ask the question, why is he saying this? So that's the kind of thing. That's what I'm talking about. Why? Why is he saying this? So those are the kinds of things that should come up in our minds as we're reading. Why does God want to tell these people this? The worst thing I think we do, and it's not bad, but one of the things that we shouldn't do is read it like it's applying to me, right? Because we know how it ends. We know what it's all about. God is trying to draw me near. God is calling me. No, don't do that, because you know the ending. Put yourself in their position to better understand how they might be taking it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go along. Remember, this is a history, 2,000 years of Israel being built up to this point, and they think they know everything. And then Jesus comes and implodes everything on them. And you have to imagine if you were at church and somebody came in and just came up with these radical ideas, you'd be really defensive. So that's my point, is understanding the culture. So those are some of the big things we're going to try and accomplish. Okay, so if you don't want to write it down, if you're like me, I like to use a PC. I use a Word document, and I usually make my surveys all chapters in the beginning. But you don't have to do that. You can do it as you go along, that's fine. But when you do your chapter, write down those questions. Just write down what you think you see. Why is John saying that Jesus was with God in the beginning? That is a big deal. We'll get into that. So one last thing I think we should do. You should do, I should say, if you're not already doing it. There's a study help called eSword. That's just like it's spelled, eSword. It's free, unless you want to pitch them a little cash for downloading it. But you can download it, and there's a bunch of free versions of public domain Bibles in there, including what I like to study from the literal version. And I also like to study from, I absolutely have to have the King James. It's called KJV Plus. Now, and I'll show you here with a graph. With eSub, you're going to see all these little tabs of all the little Bibles. It says, what Bibles do you want? And it'll just upload Bibles to your PC or your Mac or whatever. I think it does it for Mac. I'm not sure. But the beauty about the King James Plus is it has a definition for every single word in the Bible. And so it's important that when we study something and we have a question about it, sometimes we can pick out a word to find out what it really means, like glory or grace. What does grace really mean? We'll look it up. And it really helps to expand what God is trying to say and bring a more clearer understanding of what the message is. Because let's just see it for what it is. This is an interpretation of another language. Okay, at least one language, like Hebrew for the Old Testament, like Aramaic, right? Jesus spoke Aramaic, and so it's Greek is the translations that a lot of these come from, or Septuagint. There's all these different things going on. So it's important to for me anyway, to really drill down on word studies on subjects that I think need more clarity in my own mind. So we'll get into some of that, and I'll encourage you when I see something and I have a word study, I'll let you know. I'm looking forward to it. I've really been wanting to do this for some time, and it's late, and I just felt like I need to get this started, and I'm going to get it started now. So just read through chapter 1, okay? So I'm going to put this video out on a Tuesday. Next following Tuesday, we will start chapter 1. And I assume it's only going to be 2, maybe 3 little short videos where I'm going to look at each 2 or 3 sections in that chapter and just give you my overview of it. And if you have any questions, you can just put them in the comments section. Looking forward to it. See you later.